So, welcome everyone to our class on financial management. And this is our second class of financial management where we are going to discuss the concept of value and return. So, before we talk about the concept of value and return, which we are supposed to do in this chapter, I quickly will do revision for the first chapter. So the first chapter, what we studied in the first chapter, we studied about corporate finance. We talked about what corporate finance is all about. So when we have to study the corporate finance, we solely cannot look into corporate finance as in perspective. Along with corporate finance, we need to look into personal finance. We need to look into public finance, how the different arms of finance are integrated to each other. When we talk about corporate finance, in the case of corporate finance, we talked about corporate, how a corporate works, what are the goal, vision, mission, objective of a firm. And when we look into the firm, how a firm works with a sole criteria of maximizing their shareholder value. So the objective of the firm, how what should be the objective of the firm? That is what is being discussed in the first chapter. That the objective of the firm should be the maximization of the shareholder wealth. That should be the objective of the firm. The objective of the firm should be maximization of the shareholder wealth. So earlier, the firm used to work with an objective called maximization of profit. Now the firm works with an objective of maximizing the shareholder wealth, because maximizing profit and all cannot be the objective of the firm in the current era. Profit altogether brings exploitation. Profit altogether brings about what you say an inconvenient societal mechanism where human resource development will not be encouraged. We have seen in the example like how Chinese economy is flourishing because of one sole objective of profit maximization and a socialistic outlook, which was laid foundation by Karl Marx or maybe by Mao Zedong. So I'm not going to talk about their policies, if their policies are good, bad. What is being given in the first chapter, the nature of financial management, that is I'm talking about, that the current objective of every firm is to work on the maximization of shareholder wealth. Profit altogether is just an accounting outcome which we derive once we subtracted all our inflows from the outflow, and we do some deductions of values which we need to deduct because of the payment of corporate tax. The net figure what we get is the profit. Profit does not follow time value of money, so we need to look more for cash flow than profit whenever we look into the firm. So whenever we talk about a firm, the firm works with the sole objective of maximizing their shareholder value. And when the firm works with the sole objective of maximizing the shareholder value, there are different departments of the firm, either their production or marketing or finance or human resource. All these departments all together integratingly create trying to create either financial assets or either trying to create real assets. Real assets of the firm can be tangible real assets, they can be intangible real assets. And in order to create these assets, what the firm basically engage on, the firm basically engage on different decisions of their firm, which can be financial decisions, they can be investment back decision, they can be liquidity back decision, they can be profitably back decision. All these decisions all together help to a firm to work on how they can maximize their shareholder value. Nowadays, when we see nowadays when we look into the firm, a firm a firm runs by a firm is basically run by the management. Now the management who runs the firm, they need to work for the best interest for the shareholders. They are shareholders. There are the shareholders who are the owner of the firm. The shareholders are the owner of the firm, and they are the management who runs the firm. So there is a possibility of conflict between the management and the shareholder. There is a chance that conflict can happen between the management and shareholder, and that is what we study when we study agency problem, or the cost which get involved because of that is called as agency cost. Because you know that nowadays when we look into a firm can be a private company, it can be public company, it can be based on sole proprietorship or partnership. So basically, if a firm is basically public company means they have raised money from the public. So now it is being listed on the stock market, and now every quarterly, half yearly, annually, the book of accounts of the company is being published, and which is being audited before audited, and then it is being published in the public domain, and we can read about that. So whatever news about the company is coming from that news, we can get to know about the firm, how well the firm is doing, good or bad, and altogether how sector is behaving, and then based upon that we decide that can we buy the shares of the company or we should not buy the shares of the company. And because of demand and supply of the fluctuation in the price of share ultimately affect the price of the share. And that way we talked about the return, what form of return we can get while doing investment in stock market or in derivative market or in commodity market or in currency market. So altogether, as in personal finance, like I told you, there's a high degree of correlation between public finance, corporate finance, and a personal finance. So as an individual, we always prefer to create a portfolio, and if you prefer to create a portfolio, then probably we will have different avenues of doing investment, probably doing investment on the stocks of different companies. Thereby we can work on diversification, and altogether we want to maximize our return as an investor. Like the same way the firm also work with the sole objective of deriving a better value for the firm in the long run. They keep working on research and development so that they can bring more changes in their product, and so that the unique selling proportion of the product can be enhanced, and that way there is always a demand for that product in the market. And if the demand for the product persists in the market, then always the sale will be derived. And for the sales to derive, for the sales to work on, there should be marketing team which need to work aggressively for the product in the market. There should be human resource team which should make sure that quality employees always stay with the company. Then only the quality can be worked on. And then there's a finance team which take care of the financing part of the firm, and how the book of account of the firm can be maintained. So all these terms together will ultimately employ to make sure that the shareholder value can be maximized as the time will progress. So this is what we have studied in the first chapter, and I hope you have understood. You have, if you go through the video recording of the first chapter, which is the basic nature of financial management, you'll understand a lot about the theoretical part, about how this planning, profit planning is being worked on, how the fund allocation, how the inventory management, how the supply chain network, how the different financial decisions of the firm, either short term or long term, is worked upon, so that ultimately we can get the desired objective of the firm. So this is what we have done in the first chapter. Anyone, any doubt, any question you want to ask for me? So I gave a quick revision of what all we have done in the first chapter. Now we will start the next chapter, which is called concept of value and return. So return matters a lot in the current era. So nothing we do in this world simply for the charity purpose. Whatever we do, we expect return. So whenever we invest money, also we expect return. Some returns are risk-free returns. Some returns are risky returns. Risk-free returns are those returns which are guaranteed to us. Risky returns are those returns which are not guaranteed to us, where the returns can be volatile. We may end up in getting very good return, or we may end up in getting negative return. So all that is a basic principle of risky products, of where the returns are risky. So like if you put your money in stock market, your returns are never guaranteed. If you put in money in currency, commodity, derivative, all these avenues, your returns are not at all guaranteed. While if you put your money in government securities or bank FDs, your returns will be guaranteed. So they are called as risk-free returns product. So the value, what is value? Value is basically the value. When we say value, can be the sum total of tangible and intangible aspect what we get from any avenue for going through the investment purpose. So we are trying to create an assets. So whenever we try to create an assets, either they are financial assets or they are real assets, ultimately we try to create a value. So here you need to here you need to understand that because we live in the inflationary, because we are living in the world of inflation, you know that because of that reason your value of money is decreasing day by day. So suppose that your inflation rate, suppose your rate of inflation, suppose your inflation rate, for example, is 8%. Suppose your inflation rate is 8%. Okay, and suppose the price of commodity is 100 rupees right now. The price of commodity is 100 rupees right now, and the inflation rate is 8%. So the next year, what do you mean by inflation rate? It means the next year, the price of the commodity, it means that the next year, the price of the commodity that will be 108 rupees. It means the next year, the price of the commodity that will be 108 rupees. Okay, and then next year, and then after 2 year, if I talk about, then after 2 year, the price of the commodity, then after 2 year, then the price of the commodity, then after 2 year, if I ask you what would be the value of commodity, that would be 108 into 8% on 108. So 108 plus 108. So that would be 8 square is 64, then 116.64. So then the value of the commodity would be 116.64. So I hope you're understanding. So we are living in the world of inflation. And because we are living in the world of inflation, because of the inflation, the value of our money is decreasing with time. So the 100 rupees worth of good after 2 years that will become 116.64. So if we simply keep 100 rupees idle with ourselves, imagine 100 rupees is my saving, and if this 100 rupees which is my saving, if I simply keep this 100 rupees with me simply, then after 2 years I could not able to buy the commodity which 2 years before I could have bought easily with 100 rupees. So keeping money idle never make any sense, because economically the value of money is decreasing with time. So we should always plan for investment. And whenever you plan for investment, you need to make sure that the return what you are getting from any product, that should be more than the cost of inflation. If you are earning less than 8%, for example, 8% is the rate of inflation. Imagine if your inflation rate is 8%, and if you're earning less than 8%, suppose you put your money in bank FD, which gives you 6% return, then investing 6% doesn't never make any sense, because 100 rupees of your investment next year, it will become 106 rupees, and then next year it become 112 point some rupees, 112.36. So will that really make any sense? No, I don't think so that will make any sense. I hope you understand it. So your investment can only make sense if the returns what you get on any product, if that return is more than the cost of inflation. So you please understand the return what you get from any product, that is basically the nominal rate of return. Nominal rate of return is the return what you get on any product. Okay, and if you deduct the cost of inflation from the nominal rate of return, the return what you get from any product is called nominal rate of return. If you deduct the cost of inflation from it, then what you get is called real rate of return. What you get is called real rate of return. That is called a real rate of return. So the investment will make only sense. Your investment will make only sense if if the real rate of return, if the real rate of return is positive. If the real rate of return is positive, then only the investment will make sense. Then only the investment will make sense. So it is being always advisable that you should always look for investment in the market. You should always look for investment in the market, and your investment, what you look for from the market, that investment will become appropriate only when you are getting a positive real rate of return. So I hope you are understanding, because simply understanding the rule of investment, that yeah, you should not keep money idle with yourself. You should plan for investment. So if you really plan for investment, then you need to plan in such a way that you should get a positive real rate of return. Otherwise, your investment doesn't make any sense. I hope this part is clear with all of you. I hope everyone understood this part. Now, guys, the formula wise, if you want the formula, so formula is 1 plus nominal, 1 plus formula is 1 plus nominal rate of return, 1 plus nominal rate of return, 1 plus nominal rate of return percentage, that is equal to 1 plus inflation rate, 1 plus inflation rate into 1 plus real rate of return, 1 plus real rate of return. Please understand this formula. So this is the relation, guys, mathematical relation between nominal rate of return, inflation rate, and real rate of return. Understand this relation. And so this is important for you if you can understand. So imagine if the nominal rate of return, suppose if the nominal rate of return is suppose 10%, if the nominal rate of return is 10% and the inflation rate is 8%, then your real rate of return, if I'm asking you what is your real rate of return, it's simply, so layman term, we'll say that is 2%, but in reality it's not exactly 2%. If you want me to calculate mathematically, so 1 plus 10% is equal to 1 plus 8% into 1 plus real rate of return, 1 plus real rate of return. So this I can write as 1 plus 10% is 1.10, 1 plus 8% is 1.08, 1 plus real rate of return. This will give you 1.10 by 1.08 equal to 1 plus real rate of return. You can calculate this. So 1.10 by 1.08, 1.1 divided by 1.1 divided by 1.08, that is 1.018519. That is 1.018519% plus real rate of return. So if you calculate the real rate of return, 1 0 into 0 1.018. If you calculate real rate, you will get 1.818. That will be your real rate. Any doubt in? Any doubt, anyone?
No. No, sir.
So, so you understood the formula. So basically, for doing any mathematical calculation, we follow the concept of compound interest. For doing any mathematical calculation, we follow the concept of compound interest. So the concept of compound interest is basically used to do any form of calculation. So when we talk about the concept of compound interest, so there the formula what we use is future value is equal to present value into 1 plus the rate of interest to the power time. This is a formula of compound interest. If you know the formula of, if you've done aptitude or basic maths, 8, 9 standard, you remember amount is equal to principal 1 plus rate of interest to the power time. Use the formula, you'll get the answer. Any question? All this is the formula of concept of compound interest. In whenever we talk about the concept of compound interest, we believe on the time value of money. It works on the concept of time value of money. It works on the concept of time value of money. Right? The time value of money says that the value of money never remain constant. It changes or decreases with time, depending upon the world in which you are living, depending upon you're living in the inflationary world or you are living in deflationary world. So if you're living in the inflationary world, then the value of money decreases. If you live in the world of deflation, the value of money decreases when you live in inflationary world, while the value of money increases if you live in deflationary world. Japan is right now facing deflation issue. When you if you read about the economic policies of Japan, Japanese government is giving money to every family for having children. So per month they are giving money to the public because they're facing the issue of deflation. A country like India, we are facing the issues of inflation. So how deflation is more dangerous than inflation, you have to read economics to understand that is much more better way. So right now I'm not going to discuss more about that part. So when we talk about concept of compound interest, we are going to use this formula that the future value of money is equal to present value into 1 plus r% to the power p. This is the formula what we need to use. This formula actually derived from the concept of compound interest, what you studied in your basic schooling. The concept of compound interest works on the concept of time value of money. So and here you need to remember how the concept of compound interest is different from the concept of simple interest. Simple interest, compound interest, all this very basic aptitude chapter, math chapter, what you studied in 8th, 9th standard. Concept of simple interest works on a formula called amount is equal to principal 1 plus RT by 100. This is the formula of simple interest, where the interest formula is PRT by 100. I hope you remember the formula of interest under simple interest is P into R into T by 100, while the formula of compound interest in the case of compound interest is P into 1 plus R by 100 to the power T minus 1. So when we talk about simple interest, simple interest does not follow the time value of money. Whenever we talk about simple interest, it does not follow time value of money. In the case of simple interest, your principal remain constant because your principal remain constant. So the interest what you get, that also remain constant. So in case of simple interest, you get a constant interest after every regular interval of time. So the value of money never changes in the case of simple interest. So that's why simple interest, nowhere in the financial world we follow simple interest. Everywhere in the financial world we follow the concept of compound interest. The concept of compound interest, which was proposed first by Benjamin Graham. Benjamin Graham and David Todd, they wrote a book called Security Analysis. They have wrote a book called Intelligent Investor. So these novels or books like Security Analysis or Intelligent Investor, they basically laid the foundation of the financial market what we are witnessing right now. So the well-known investors like Warren Buffett, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, all they follow Warren Buffett, all they follow this book novel called Security Analysis, Intelligent Investor. I request you people also that if possible, please read these novels, Security Analysis or Intelligent Investor, to know more about the concept of compound interest, how the concept of compound interest can change our life. All that you can understand more if you read about them. So the concept of compound interest is what we are going to use uh, everywhere in the finance. Right now, whatever I'm teaching you, everywhere I'm going to use the concept of compound interest only. Where in the case of compound interest, you need to understand the term like amount. What is the amount? Amount is the money what you get back once the instrument get mature. So if I'm using the term like amount, or if I'm using the term called future value, both mean same thing. So future value, or if I'm using a term called amount, both mean same thing. If I'm using the term like principal, if I'm using the term like principal or the present value, if I'm using the term like principal or present value, it means the same thing. So principal or the present value is the initial money which I have deposited, which I wanted to multiply. So instead of keeping money idle with myself, never it makes sense to keep money idle with myself. So I always prefer, I means we should always prefer to invest. So whenever we do investment, the value what we get, because we have postponed our present consumption for a gain in the future, that value is called interest, and then the final money what I receive from my investment, that is called amount. So your amount is equal to principal plus interest. So your amount is the future value of money, principal is the present value of money what you have done investment. Clear everyone? So you have understood what is principal, you have understood what is amount. Okay, so what happens in the case of compound interest? So in case of compound interest, when we talk about amount, in case of compound interest, when we talk about amount in the case of compound interest, your amount for every n year, your amount for every n year, means every year whatever is your amount, that will become the principal for the next year. So whatever is your amount every year, that will become the principal for the next year. That is what happens in the case of compound interest. So in the case of compound interest, your amount for every n year become the principal for the next year, and that how the value of money get multiplied in the case of compound interest. So you need to understand these terms. So basic formula what we follow here. So you should know the basic formula that future value is equal to present value into 1 plus the rate of interest to the power t, or you can use the present value is equal to future value divided by 1 plus rate of interest to the power t. You can use these formulas to find the t. How will I find the t? How will I find the value of t? I can find the value of t. If I have to find the value of t, how will I find? I can use log of future value by present value divide by the log of 1 plus rate of interest is equal to t. So with this I can find the time. In case if the time, if I have to determine, so I can find the time by the log. And if I have to find the rate, if I have to find the rate, how will I find the rate? If a present value, future value, and time is given, for the rate, what I can do, the rate, what can I do? Future value by present value uh, to the power 1 by t of to a present value to the power 1 by t minus t minus 1 into 100. That will give me the rate. Clear everyone? So
Yes.
you can do all this calculation in MS Excel. Simply this formula is a FB. You can use this formula called FB, or you can use the formula called PV. Similarly, if you want to find the value of rate, you can use rate. You can do that. If you want the value of time, for time, the word uses NPER. Okay, so if you're using the time, you're getting a word called NPER. So here, if you're using all these formulas, if you're using this formula, suppose in Excel, if you're using this formula in Excel, so then if you're using this formulas in Excel, then if you see this, like NPR is for finding the time. NPR to find, you can use this formula to find the time. So here, if I'm asking you, find the time, then rate, you know what is rate? Rate of interest. PMT basically means NUT. PMT basically means NUT. So now the question comes, what is NUT, sir? So NUT basically means if you pay or if you receive a same amount of money after every regular interval of time, then it is called as NUT. Like NUT, example for NUT is like EMI, equated monthly installment. Okay, the example of NUT can be the pension. The example of NUT, it can be EMI, it can be pension, it can be your rent, all these things. So anything and everything which you pay or if you're going to receive after every regular interval of time. Are you getting me? So I pay rent every month and I pay equal amount of rent every month. So then rent is the example of NUT. Pension. So when the old people get retired, so they get from government a fixed amount. It is NUT. EMI. If you take a loan, so you need to pay equated monthly installment on your loan to the bank. It is example of NUT. So that is NPMT means NUT. PV means present value of money. PV means present value of money. Principal. PV means your principal or the present value of money. FP means you understand is your amount or future value of money. Type means what is type? So type 0 we use whenever there's an example of NUT. And I'll teach this more. Type 1 we use whenever there's example of NUT due. We'll talk about what is NUT, NUT due, immediate NUT, deferred NUT, all that. If you have prepared for CA Foundation or any other exam, definitely you have studied about them. If you have studied the chapter called time value of money, there's a chapter called time value of money where these all being discussed in much more detailed manner. So we'll not go much deeper into those part. You get the table also, guys. If you see in Google for calculation purpose, if we are not using Excel, then we need tables for doing calculation purpose. So the tables you can just simply Google it. To get the table, you can simply Google the table. You can get the table like financial tables, or if you are, I don't know if you are using books or not. If you are having book, then no problem. Then there is the table of P1. P1. So this is present value future. This is the future value table. You can see the values increasing. So you can use this table. So this is present value table. This is for NUT, future value NUT table. Okay. This is present value interest factor single flow table. So depending upon the problem, when you read the problem, this is present value interest factor table. So you can use this table. It will helpful for you. So financial table, I'll forward you the financial table for risk calculation. Okay, guys. So I'll forward to you. So either you can use scientific calculator in exam, or you can use MS Excel, or you can use the table for the calculation purpose. Clear, everyone? So I'll give you some numericals for practice, okay, so that you can understand that. Let's do some numerical. So you can see this question number 1. Is this visible, guys?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, the question 1 is like calculate the present value of a rupee 600. Calculate the present value of rupee 600. So present value of rupee 600. So your future value is rupee 600. You need to find the present value of that. Your rate of interest is 5%. Your rate of interest is 5% per annum, guys. Rate of interest is quoted always per annum. It is 5% per annum. Per annum is every year. And the question is that calculate the present value of rupees 600 receive 1 year from now. So receive 1 year from now. So the time is 1 year. What is the present value of that? So the present value of this, if I want, if the future value is 600, rate of interest is 5%, time is 1 year. What is the present value if I want to calculate? If I want to calculate this, so the future value is 600. The future value 600. Rate of interest was how much? 5%. The rate of interest was how much? 5%, right? Rate of interest was 5%. Rate of interest was, sorry, 5% for time 1 year. So 5% for time 1 year, 5% for time 1 year, 5% per annum, and the time is 1 year. If I want to find the present value, guys, a simple formula I'll follow, that the formula that future value is equal to present value into 1 plus rate of interest to the power time. So the future value is 600 is equal to present value into 1 plus 5% to the power 1. This is 600 is equal to present value into 1.05. So present value is equal to 600 by 1.05. So you can either use calculator, find this value. So you can use calculator 600 by 1.05. 600 by 1.05. You do that. That is 571.4286. 571.4286. This is the present value. This is the one way. Anyone, any doubt?
No, sir.
So this is the one way. The other way, guys, what you can do, you can use the table. The table, in the table, what you have to do here, you have to find the present value, right? Present value of 600 rupees. You have to find the present value of 600 rupees for 5% for 1 year. That you have to find. So the present value, so you have to multiply this. So the present, so the better way would be to write, find the present value of 600 rupees for present value of 600 rupees for what should I write? Present value of rupee 1. I'll write rupee 1 at 5% for 1 year. I'll use this. So I'll write 600 into, then I'll go to the table. I'll go to this table. This table, all the calculation is done on rupee 1. So that 1 into anything will give you the value. This is future value interest factor table of single cash flow. Okay. Then this is future value interest factor for NUT. Then this is present value of interest factor rupee 1. Okay, rupee 1, 5% for 1 year. So if you see the 5%, 5% for 1 year, that is 0.9524. This is 0.9524. This is 0.9524. So you can do this 600 into 0.9524. You can do with normal calculator. 600 into 0.9524. This is what you will do in exam. So in exam, you will ask from your teacher. In exam from your teacher, you ask, sir, give me the table, financial values table. And then for this problem, you will see the value. So from this question, you will see the value and you will get the answer. What is the answer? 571.44. Clear, everyone? So because Excel and all will not be allowed, scientific calculator also not allowed. If scientific calculator is allowed, You don't need this table and all. You can do by yourself. If scientific calculus is also not allowed, then you need the help of this table to solve the question. So then second one, receive at the end of 5 years. Receive at the end of 5 years. So what I'll do, present value, receive at the end of 5 years, 600 into present value table, present value of rupee 1, present value of rupee 1 at 5% for 5 years. I find the present value 600, 5% for 5 years, present value rupee 1. So 5% for 5 years. 5% for 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0.7835. 0.783. The present value that will be, you can calculate this. 600 into 0.7835. Use calculator. 600 0.7835. 470.1. 470.1. Are you getting me? Receive at the end of 15 years. Third one, receive at the end of third year. What I'll do? 500 into present value rupee 1 at 5% for 15 years. See the 5% for 15 years. You're getting it right? 5% I'll check for 15 years. 15 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0.481. 0.481. See how much easy this has become. 0.481. 600 into 0.481. 600 into 0.481. 600 into 0.481. 288, 288.6. Clear? Anyone, any doubt?
No,
Anyone,
sir.
any doubt? You understand it, right? So
Yeah.
same thing you would have done this. So the, you know, the present value formula, that is equal to future value divided by 1 plus rate of interest to the power t. So the present value it would have been 600 divided by 1 plus 5% to the power 15. So you need scientific calculator now to do this calculation. So the present value is 600 divided by 1.05 to the power 15. So you need a table to do that. So 600 divided by 1.05, 600 divided by 1.05 to the power 15. You have done this, so we'll get the same answer. Only thing we need scientific calculator or Excel to do. So if same thing we can do very easily if we have the table. If financial tables are given to us, so we can do the same calculation very easily. Now, if you see the second question, question number second, and there's a question number second. So if you see the question number second, so determine the present value of rupees 700 each paid at the end of next 6 years, assuming 8% rate of interest. Try this question number second, guys, everyone. Everyone try this question number second. Guys, this Avilash, Chatra, Pooja, Sangeeta, Shane, Vikas, Yashaswini. Everyone try question number second. Now, if you see this question number second, so at the end of next 6 years, you are getting 700 rupees. And the rate of interest is 8%. You want to find the present value. So actually, what they're telling you in this question that at the end of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then the future value is your future value is 700 rupees. Your future value is 700 rupees. Your future value is 700 rupees. Rate of interest is 8%. Rate of interest is 8%. So the present value, the present value is, you can find the present value, guys. So many ways you can find the present value. In this case, you can find the present value directly by the formula future value divide by 1 plus rate of interest to the power time. So like this, you can find the present value by using MS Excel. You can find the present value. Okay, so every year you can find the present value like this. The sum total of the present value, if you do, you will get the value. This is the sum total of the present value. If you want to increase the decimal. So every year, so whatever the 700 rupees you are getting every year, you find the present value of that, and they want the sum total of that. So this is one way to do. The other way, what you can do, guys, use the annuity table. Use the table. You have no present value of table. Present value of table. There you see 8% for 1 year. 8% for 1 year. That is 0.9259. Simply write down this value. No, 8% for 1 year. What is the present value? 0.9259. 0.9259. Then next one is 0.8573. 0.8573. Then third one is 0.7938. Third one is 0.7938. Then 0.735. Then 0.735. Then 0.735. Then 0.6806. 0.6806. Okay. So how many years is there in this problem? 5 year or 6 year. Then sixth year, this was 0.6806. Then sixth year 8%, 0.6302. 0.6302. So this is the present value factor. Present value factor. So find the present value. So you can simply multiply the present value factor with the future value. If you multiply the present value factor with the future value, you will get the present value. Clear, everyone? Anyone, any doubt?
No.
You'll get the same thing. So manually you can do this, all this work. So with this, you can get the answer. So the same question I'm trying to explain you by many ways. So whichever way you want, you can do that. Here, the other way to understand this, the same scenario you can understand in other way also, that if you write manually, imagine if I'm BCom student, then how will I do 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and then this 6. Okay, then my future value was 700 rupees. 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 Okay, the rate of interest was 8%. 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 So now the present value, is equal to 700 divided by 1 plus 8% to the power 1. This is 700 divided by 1.08. This would be 700 divided by 1 plus 8% to the power 2. This is 700 by 1.08 to the power 2. Third one, that is 700 by 1 plus 8% to the power 3. This is 700 by 1.08 to the power 3. The fourth here, that would be 700 by 1 plus 8% to the power 4. This would be 700 by 1.08 to the power 4. Then 700 by 1 plus 8% to the power 5. This is 700 by 1.08 to the power 5. So similarly, I can find the present value of 700 by 1.08 to the power 6. So this one by one, we know this value. So we already, that value is already given to us. 1 by 1 plus 8% for 1 year. That value is given to us 0.9259. So 0.9259, and this is 700 into 0.8573, then 700 into 0.7938, then 700 into 0.735, then 700 into 0.6806, then 700 into 0.6302. So we already found these values. So that is 648.13. Then this is 600 by 600.11. Then 555.66, then 514.5, then 476.42, 476, and then it is 441.14, 441.41. If you do the sum for this, if you do the sum for this, you will get the same thing. The total sum value, that is 3235.96. I hope you understand this.
Yes.
So you understood this now. Then what you need to understand, guys, one thing: if you use the logic of geometric progression, if we use the concept of geometric progression, here in solving these kind of progression questions, like concept of geometric progression, if you use here, you know that sum of n terms, if ratio is more than 1, then the formula is a into r to the power n minus 1 by r minus 1, and the sum of n terms, r is less than 1, then sum is equal to a into 1 minus r to the power n by 1 minus r. So this is the sum formula. So if r is more than 1, this is the form. R is less than 1, then this is the formula. So you know this formula. So if the geometric progression, what is geometric progression? When any money increases or decreases with the equal ratio. So if you see in this question, guys, if you see in this question here, year 1, 2, 3, 4, as a general purpose, if I say to the year, and if you future value here, if you're getting same money, no, the future value every time you're getting AAA, this is what we call as an annuity, that when you pay or when you receive a same amount of money after every regular interval of time, your rate of interest is suppose R%. Rate of interest is suppose R%. Then your present value, then your present value, then your present value 1 plus R% to the power 1. This is for year 1. A divided by 1 plus R% to the power 2. Similarly, for 3 years, that would be A divided by 1 plus R% to the power 3. Similarly, A divided by 1 plus R% to the power n. If that is for n year, I hope you are getting this. Anyone, any doubt? Anyone, any doubt?
No, sir.
So this is the sum total. In case this is the sum total of all the money. So this is called present value of annuity, guys. This is called present value of annuity. And in case if you're using the present value of annuity, A divided by 1 plus R% for year 1, A divided by 1 plus R% for year 2, plus A divided by 1 plus R% for the year 3. Similarly, till A divided by 1 plus R% for year n. So if I want to find the present value of annuity, the total sum, then here if you see these values are increasing with a ratio called 1 divided by 1 plus R%. The ratio is 1 divided by 1 plus R%. That is your ratio. Your ratio is 1 divided by 1 plus R%. That is your ratio. And the first term, your first term A divided by 1 plus R percentage. Okay. So the sum always, you should know that this is less than 1. So the sum, if you guys, if you understand, these all are in GP. If you understand this series is in GP. If you understand the series is in GP, if you understand the series is in GP, and where your ratio is 1 divided by 1 plus R%, your first term is A divided by 1 plus R%. So your sum of n terms, the sum of n terms means the present value of annuity, means the present value of annuity is equal to what is the formula I wrote, guys? The formula is first term A into R to the power n. Okay, first term into 1 minus a ratio to the power n divided by 1 minus 1 A into 1 minus or n 1 minus R. Yeah. So I'm not writing A because you should not get confused. Divide by 1 minus ratio. Yeah, in percentage. So the sum of n terms or the present value of annuity. So the present value of annuity, first term is A divided by 1 plus R%. 1 minus ratio. Ratio is 1 by 1 plus R% to the power n. To the power n. Okay, divide by 1 minus 1 by 1 plus R%. So the present value of annuity, A divided by 1 plus R%. This is 1 plus R% to the power n minus 1. Okay, divide by 1 plus R% to the power n. Divide by this is divide by 1 minus R%. R is ratio. Ratio is 1 by R%. So this would be 1 plus R% minus 1 by 1 plus R%. This and this will get cancelled. This and this get cancelled. This and this get cancelled. So this will give you the formula. This will give you the formula that A by R percentage into 1 plus R percentage to the power n minus 1 by 1 plus R percentage to the power n. This is the present value of NUT formula. This is the formula, guys. You simply no need of remembering the derivation and all. So many people don't like maths and all. So you simply ignore it. So the present value of NUT, you just remember the derivation. Remember the formula A by R% 1 plus R% to the power n minus 1 divided by 1 plus R% to the power n. What is NUT? NUT basically means that when you pay or when you receive the same amount of money after every regular interval of time, that we called as NUT. Okay, so if you see the NUT table, present value of interest factor for single flow of money. Okay, then this is present value of interest factor for an NUT. This is the NUT formula. So, and here, whenever you are solving the question, guys, and you realize that you realize such kind of this scenario where the NUT is constant, you realize this kind of scenario where your NUT is constant, like you are paying or you are receiving same amount of money. So to find the present value of this NUT, don't waste your time writing this step by step like this calculation. You could have used actually the present value of NUT formula. Present value of NUT formula, rate is 8%, NPER is 6 year, PMT, what is your PMT? PMT is 700 rupees, NUT, future value is 0, time is 0. If you do this, you'll get the same. So you don't have to waste your time doing it step by step again. You can directly use the formula of present value of NUT. So the present value of NUT formula is present value of NUT formula A by R% into 1 plus R% to the power n minus 1 by 1 plus R% to the power n. So if you use the formula A is 700 by 0.08, 1.08 to the power 6 minus 1, 1.08 to the power 6. You solve it. If you solve it, guys, you'll get the answer 3236.02. So directly, no need to do step by step. This is a direct formula, what we get from the sum of n terms in GP. So by following the sum of n terms in GP, we'll get the direct formula like this. Or if you see this present value of NUT table, you see the NUT table, okay, for 8% for 6 years. See the 8% for 6 years, 8% for the 6 year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8% for 6 year, if you see that is 4.29. Guys, if you look into the present value of NUT table for 6 years, so 8% for 6 year, if you see 8% for 6 year, if you see 8% for 6 year, that is 4.6229. So 4.62229, 4 points present value of NUT factor. So present value of NUT factor, present value of NUT factor for 8% at 6 years, that is equal to that that is equal to how much that is given to you, that is given to you 6 year, that is given to you 4.6229, that is 4.6229, that is 4.6229. So and your NUT is 700 rupees. No, NUT is 700 rupees. Your NUT is 700 rupees, right? How much is your NUT? 700 rupees, right? NUT is 700 rupees. So you can find the sum of present value of NUT, sum of present value of NUT. So that will be directly you can do 700 into 4.229. You do that, you will get the direct answer. So 4.6229 into 700. So 4.6229 into 700. So that is 3236.03. 3236.03. Your understanding. So a logic of NUT, I believe that is clear for all of you. Anyone, any doubt?